We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
With a new year beginning, many of us see this as an opportunity for a clean slate, a tabula rasa, if you will, and often make resolutions. Now, we're joined by our special Liberty Nation panel, Jeff Charles, Scott Cosenza, and Tim Don, a longtime host of this here radio show, to hear either what resolutions they've set for themselves or what resolutions they think our political overlords should or could adopt. Tim, let's start with you.
Well, I've got two New Year's resolutions, not in this particular order. One of them is to respond to how I, like so many others, bought the narrative that the Republicans were ready to, basically for a red wave, that I'm going to try to listen more to my own voice and be more skeptical about what I'm hearing in terms of conventional wisdom, because I think I'm hardly alone. I think it was almost everybody, with a few exceptions, that bought that narrative. And I think more independent thinking is something that we could all benefit as writers. That's my first one. My second one is that I'm going to eat more veggies. But I'm only going to fulfill one of those two promises. So I'll leave it to you to decide which one is
Tim,
more likely for me to
this is not
fulfill.
Reagan rules. Ketchup does not count as a vegetable for these argument purposes. All right?
I've got an expanded list of eligible food items, Scott. I mean, depends what the meaning of vegetable is.
Yeah, we're not going to count French fries or ketchup, and the doctors don't allow that.
I don't know, Scott. We're going to have to take that one to the podcast and discuss it.
Well, I do notice that the plant-based meat alternatives have been taking a real nosedive on the stock markets recently. And I think what it is, despite having a lot of science behind the food technology, some great advertising, and a lot of activists pushing it, I suspect, and I don't know this for sure because I have never bitten that particular bullet, is that they just don't taste that good. So, Scott, maybe perhaps follow Jordan Peterson's and Michaela Peterson's lessons and stick with the meat there. Scott, let's move on to you. New Year's resolutions for yourself or for our political, let's call them leaders.
Two for myself. The first is to eat more foie gras. I want to support our nation's foie gras producers.
Okay, Scott, I'll go along with it.
Who are now
okay.
There's a new ban. I think it's in New York, perhaps. If not, I got that wrong. It's another northeastern state dominated by liberals in governance who have forbidden the sale of foie gras there.
I wish they were still liberals.
Yeah, well, certainly. And the funny thing is the best foie gras in the States that I know of comes from New York. There's a well-regarded foie gras ranch or farm or whatever you call it on Long Island.
I assume you're talking upstate rather than New York City there, because I don't think there's that many geese, right?
It's
one of the old Long Island, before they got kind of invaded by all the the people from Manhattan and the world, really. But
okay, foie gras on the menu.
Number two is to establish to learn where I might establish a second residency if the politicians of the United States ruin this place anymore with their regulations and taxes and every other thing, that I have a solid foundation on where I might go ahead to exfiltrate to.
Okay, and obviously don't mention that on any particular broadcast because they will find out where you are, Scott. What about you, Jeff? What are your resolutions for the coming year?
Yeah, I'll say what Scott is, don't let Taylor Lorenz find out where you moved to. Just, make sure that doesn't happen.
How do you stop her?
Well, I mean, she's apparently, from what I hear on the internet, she's incredibly old, so she won't be around for that much longer, right?
Yeah.
For that was for the old joke, by the way, not for her not being around. I have no ill will towards. I don't want to be a focus of some investigation.
All right, Jeff.
For me, politically, 2023, I'm going to be focusing on liberty. I'm going to be focusing more local. I'm doing a little bit of a pivot. I've had a little dark night of the soul politically. So coming up this next year, my focus is going to be liberty, and I really want to focus local and personally and politically do what I can on the ground to help move liberty forward.
Okay, that's a pretty good. That's a nice, worthwhile, clean cut gold there, Jeff. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, no foie
Yeah,
gras.
surprised. Like you thought I was going to make like some weird joke or something. The fact is, I
thought you were
couldn't think
gonna
of one.
declare
So
yourself crown
That is,
emperor of Black Twitter.
That's
We're going to feed Jeff plenty of
suspiciously,
foie
that's
gras in
suspiciously
2023 too.
virtuous.
Don't worry about that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if they allow black anarchists on Black Twitter, but we'll see.
Well, this is why I say you need to declare yourself Emperor Xerxes of Twitter. Right? That's your new Twitter handle, Xerxes Jeff on the right. Okay, gents, if we were giving resolutions to our political, again, let's call them leaders, what piece of advice would you give them for the new year? Just a quick round the table. Tim, your person and the advice you would give.
Well, let's stick with the Donald Trump theme here that I've been running through most of this program. My hope is that Donald Trump would resolve to support the Republican nominee for president, whether it's
himself or someone
whether
else.
it's him or someone else. I think he could commit to supporting himself if
Right.
he's the nominee. I'm pretty confident of that. But whether he could support DeSantis or company, that is a critical question, because if he works against them just to get revenge, he's going to send Biden or his designated successor to the White House for 4 more years. I'm not saying that that's a resolution that Donald Trump has made or even will make, but one that he should make for the sake of himself, the party, and he can still be very influential in the Republican Party in a positive way.
Okay.
If he chooses to.
And Scott, who would you advise?
Well, I think that the person most in need of advice would be the incoming Speaker of the House of Representatives.
Donald Trump.
Whomever that may be.
Whoever that may be. Or, of course,
it-
Kevin McCarthy is in place for that. Yeah.
Is there a possibility that may not happen, or is
Yes.
that dead set at this point?
Yes, there is a possibility.
Yeah, that's why I phrased it that way. And I would encourage them to read the Constitution of these United States. That would be my best best advice for them, because unfortunately, all Congresses in my lifetime pass a massive quantity of legislation that is on its face unconstitutional, and that it's impractical to follow the Constitution and have fidelity towards it is not an acceptable argument. You know, I'm mindful of Rand Paul's bringing out the spending bill and saying how they had a couple hours to vote on it. That any congressperson would ever vote on something they haven't read, I think, is a violation of their oath of office. And I, again, say it's not an acceptable rebuttal to that statement to say it's impractical to require them to read the legislation they pass. Impracticality be damned.
All right. And Jeff, a quick but final word from yourself.
You know, I guess it's not to any one person, but from where I sit, I mean, the federal government's gone. They're just going to keep growing the government and growing the government. Like I said before, the focus should be local. So I would say to any liberty-minded candidates, regardless of party, doesn't matter which party, liberty-minded candidates at the local level, run for those local seats. Get in there and apply the principle.
Supporting Mark Angelides for dog catcher, federal dog catcher for the entire
Scott's
United
already
States
running
in the new
for
year.
Speaker of the House.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that.
Yeah, he's already got a nascent campaign.
All right, gentlemen, thank you ever so much. I wish you a very happy new year, and thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
All that remains is for me to thank our special guests, Tim Donner, Jeff Charles, and Scott D. Cosenza for joining us, and to wish all of you out there in Radioland and beyond the very happiest of New Year's. I think perhaps I'll leave you with the words of author and thinker G.K. Chesterton, who warned, the object of a new year is not that we should have a new year, it's that we should have a new soul. And I think those are words to live by. Happy New Year to you all. We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides. Entertaining, informative, and just plain fun. Watch Liberty Nation's The Conservative 5. produced by conservatives for conservatives. C5's The Left Free Zone, hosted by Liberty Nation's Lisa K. Donner, joined by a raucous, irreverent panel of authors, deconstructing leftist narratives, debating the hot topics, and remembering to laugh. Join the official conservative safe
You only
space.
did that to piss Jeff off.
Liberty Nation's The Conservative Five.